Goodbye.
Tonight on Reporting Scotland, a police officer sentenced for domestically abusing 2 women. Tariq Mahmood repeatedly kicked one of his victims and he'll now resign. Campaigners say the rules around officers convicted of offences need to change.
That kind of conviction should be an automatic sacking in my eyes. The whole point of being a police officer is you hold an oath.
Also on tonight's programme, the families scrambling for suitable care for vulnerable loved ones.
It's neither safe, it's not ethical, and more importantly, he has to never go back.
Fraser and other patients with complex learning disabilities face an uncertain future with the sudden closure of their ward. As Number 10 backs the Chancellor after she was seen crying in the House of Commons, the row over the Prime Minister's controversial welfare reforms continues. A warning of fake versions of virally popular Labubu doll seized in Aberdeen could be dangerous.
And coming up in the sport, Russell Martin bolsters his Rangers side with the addition of midfielder Joel Rothwell, who arrives from Premier League side Bournemouth on a 3-year deal.
Hi, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. A police officer convicted of domestic abuse against 2 women has been sentenced to 120 hours of unpaid work. Tariq Mahmood was found guilty of repeatedly kicking one of his victims and acting in an abusive manner towards a second woman who was pregnant. Police Scotland said his actions go against everything the service stands for. Katie Hunter reports.
His job was to uphold the law. Today he was sentenced for breaking the law. Police Constable Tariq Mahmood, seen here in the middle, abused 2 women between 2019 and 2022. He was found guilty last month following a trial at Edinburgh Sheriff Court. He assaulted one of the women and was abusive towards the other while she was pregnant.
As well as the physical violence, the charges against Mahmood stated that he repeatedly blamed one of his victims for not having children together, repeatedly accused her of having an affair and repeatedly shouted and swore. In the case of his second victim, he threatened to remove her child from her, told her what clothes to wear and referred to her childhood trauma.
This morning he was sentenced to 120 hours unpaid work, placed under supervision for 2 years and banned from contacting his victims for 4 years. The court heard that while he maintained his not guilty position from the trial, he did apologise to the 2 women for some of his behaviour. He also plans to resign from Police Scotland.
Obviously, I'd been to Parliament.
Annie Herdman's police officer partner was convicted in 2021 of assaulting her. She's campaigned for changes to the law so police officers convicted of domestic abuse don't have the option to resign on their terms, weeks or months after they're found guilty.
That kind of conviction should be an automatic sacking in my eyes. The whole point of being a police officer is you hold an oath to not commit crimes and to protect the public. So if you're out there abusing that position and not protecting the public, then why should you be able to be called a police officer?
Police Scotland can't automatically sack officers convicted of domestic abuse without going through a disciplinary procedure. The Scottish Government says it's consulting on proposals for further changes to police conduct regulations. Police Scotland says Mahmood was suspended at the earliest opportunity after conviction. It commended his victim's strength in reporting these crimes and bringing him to justice. Katie Hunter, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Nonsensical. That's the expert verdict on the decision to close a secure hospital ward in Ayrshire that cares for people with complex learning disabilities. The ward at Woodland View Hospital is to shut within the next fortnight, leaving families struggling to sort out suitable care for vulnerable patients. The parents of 21-year-old Fraser Malcolm have told us that it's proving impossible to make the arrangements necessary for his release at such short notice. Our social affairs correspondent Lucy Adams has this exclusive report.
Fraser Malcolm is 21. He has limited speech and complex needs.
Keep going. Keep going. Bye.
Before he went into hospital, he lived a full life. But for the past 4.5 years, he's been in a locked ward here at Woodland View near Irvine. His parents have been fighting to get him out, but say it's impossible to get care arranged in such a short time frame.
None of the care providers can react in that time. It's neither safe, it's not ethical. It needs to be safely done, and more importantly, he has to never go back, and that's going to take a transitional period.
Fraser's one of 6 patients who will have to leave the ward when it closes on July the 14th. Doctors agreed he could go 3 years ago, but there's been no suitable care package available.
When we visit him, he's putting a leg out his bedroom window to basically show that he's wanting out. That's him. He's in his head. He's obviously reached a place where he doesn't want to be in there anymore.
Experts told the BBC it was nonsensical to close a ward at such short notice.
To make success out of deinstitutionalisation is the minimum on average of 6 months, and that's assuming you've got a property. What I would refer to as botched transitions account for quite a lot of bounce back placements where patients literally break down. I think with the scenario I've already described, I can say very honestly that this is almost setting somebody up to fail.
North Ayrshire Health and Social Care Partnership said the ward was an increasingly unsuitable environment, has struggled to retain staff and has experienced challenges due to delayed discharges and incidents of violence and aggression. It said the ward will work to ensure robust discharge plans are in place.
People go into hospital to get made better, not worse. And Fraser's so much worse now than he was when he went in there. We've got a totally different person. And I just have to hope that he's still in there, and as he moves away from it, that we get the old Fraser back.
Fraser's parents have been pleading for him to be allowed out, but now say they're begging for him to stay in long enough to get a house and a care team in place. They want him to have a real chance at life. Lucy Adams, reporting Scotland.
Now, this time last year, Labour were on the brink of a general election victory, returning to power after 14 years. This week, their anniversary is marked by climb-downs on their welfare reform plans and a possible gap in the Treasury sums. Today, at Prime Minister's Questions, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves was visibly upset, in tears behind Sir Keir Starmer, over what her spokesperson said was a personal matter. Downing Street has backed her and say they'll press on with the welfare reforms that have attracted so much opposition within Labour ranks. Our political correspondent Kirsten Campbell reports now from Westminster.
It seems the Prime Minister can't put a foot right. Sir Keir Starmer may have avoided a humiliating defeat in the Commons vote last night, but the win was just as humbling. The Chancellor appeared to be in tears, though her office says it was personal.
It's been a difficult week for the Prime Minister.
The Leader of the Opposition said the welfare bill had been a pointless waste of time.
He said that he would take the difficult decisions, but isn't the reality that he is too weak to get anything done?
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell them what they did to the welfare system. They broke it. And it's the same as the NHS. What did they do? They broke it. Same as the economy. What did they do? They broke it. They broke everything that they touched. And now she describes the broken system that we are trying to fix.
The Scottish Government has condemned Labour for trying to balance the books on the backs of the vulnerable.
And I welcome the fact that they've essentially deserted all of their proposals as a consequence of the shocking handling of this issue, which has essentially preyed on some of the most vulnerable within our society. But what we've got to recognise in Scotland is that we must take our decisions and act in a completely different fashion to the approach that's been taken by Westminster.
It's a racing certainty now that what's left of Labour's welfare reforms will pass, but don't rule out further twists and turns in the road ahead.
Well, Kirsten joins me now live from Westminster. Kirsten, you've been talking to one of the Labour rebels today. What does she have to say?
Yeah, I was chatting to Irene Campbell, who's the North Ayrshire and Arran MP, and she voted against the government because she was concerned that these welfare changes were going to adversely affect her constituents. She thinks the government is moving too fast, that it should take its time and take a more measured approach. I also caught up with other Labour MPs who might have been tempted to rebel, but backed the government after that last-minute concession when ministers said they would not introduce changes to the eligibility criteria until the results of a review were known. There's definitely a sense here at Westminster that the government was in danger of putting the cart before the horse. But that legislation will be back in the Commons for a further vote next week.
And this can't be how the UK government wants to celebrate its first anniversary in power.
No, some in the party are questioning whether scheduling a vote to take benefits off disabled people is really the way you want to mark that anniversary. I mean, the impression of late has been a government by U-turn. The controversies are overshadowing any achievements, and Labour will be hoping that they can get back on the front foot, not least, of course, because there is a Holyrood election next spring. Meanwhile, I think the SNP is rather enjoying the chaos, although at some stage the Scottish Government will have to address the affordability of its own benefits system because it has insisted that it will not be making any changes to eligibility for the adult disability payment in Scotland.
Kirsten, live at Westminster for us tonight. Thank you very much indeed. Some of the day's other stories now. And Peter Murrell, the former chief executive of the SNP, has been granted legal aid after being charged with embezzlement. Mr Murrell, the husband of former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, was charged in April last year in a police investigation into SNP finances. He made no plea when he appeared at Edinburgh Sheriff Court in March and was granted bail. Bus builder Alexander Dennis is to extend the consultation period on its plans to shut its plants in Falkirk and Larbert. It will now run for an extra fortnight until the 15th of August. The trade union Unite had called for this to try to find more time to save the 400 jobs which are under threat. Meanwhile, the Scottish Government says officials have met the company to discuss the possibility of a furlough scheme. This could help avoid redundancies while new orders were found. Dundee University's new Chief Finance Officer has left the cash-strapped institution after 8 days. Chris Riley only joined the university, which is trying to reduce staff numbers as it faces a £35 million deficit, last Monday. The university said Mr Riley had left the role by mutual agreement and it was moving quickly to appoint his replacement. And a Chihuahua has been rescued from a building destroyed by fire in Perth after surviving for nearly 2 weeks in the tenement. The puppy, called Vilo, was feared dead in the Scott Street fire, which happened on the 14th of June. Following Vilo's rescue, he was checked over by a vet and was found to have suffered no ill effects. Now, the TSB was founded in Dumfriesshire in 1810 thanks to the vision of a Scottish clergyman. But now the name could disappear from UK high streets after the British bank's Spanish owner announced its sale to rival Santander. The deal's expected to see some branch closures as Santander hopes to make savings across the merged banks. Our business correspondent David Henderson has more.
It's been a feature on Scotland's high streets for 2 centuries. Now, though, the TSB name could be lost after it was snapped up by the Spanish banking giant Santander. And that could mean jobs are lost and branches closed, a point of concern for some in Rutherglen today. Does it matter to have banks on the high street?
Of course it does, yeah. We're pensioners and there's nowhere else you can go.
We have to go to bank because we have business accounts in banks. Sometimes we have to go for the cash.
It's the same as grocery shopping. I do that online as well. So
it's all changed.
Silver surfer.
In a pastoral setting at Rothwell in Dumfriesshire, the first savings bank in the world was opened by the Reverend Dr. Henry Duncan in 1810.
The TSB has a long pedigree and it grew to become a high street giant.
TSB, the bank that likes to say yes.
More recently, like most bank chains, it's closed dozens of branches as customers moved online, and its sale to Santander shows no sign of stopping that trend. This short stretch of road shows just how fast high street banking is changing. That's the Santander bank branch over there. Up on the corner, that coffee shop used to be Alliance and Leicester. It was taken over by Santander and later closed. Just over here on the corner, that sandwich shop used to be Bradford and Bingley. Again, folded into the Santander chain and then closed. And TSB is just 100 yards down the road from here. So the risk of branches closing to save money is apparent.
If this is going to be yet more degradation of the branch network, then that is an issue for businesses who maybe deal in cash, maybe want to talk to people face to face, maybe need a little bit of advice.
In Cambuslang, a wave of bank closures prompted the opening of this hub, where customers of different banks can access bank services. One of those behind it told me other towns need something similar.
To my mind, before the last bank closes in a community, a banking hub should be up and running so that there isn't a gap in provision.
TSB's sale reflects big changes in high street banking, but as the industry moves from bricks to clicks, some ask how a gap in the service can be avoided. David Henderson, reporting Scotland.
OK, News at 7's on shortly over on BBC Scotland, and Amy is here to tell us what's coming up.
Hi Laura, we were just hearing, weren't we, from the Malcolm family who face this real challenge now of trying to find suitable care for their son Fraser. We're going to be joined in the programme by one mum who found herself in a very similar situation with her son, but wants to offer families hope and show how she's managed to find the transition for her son. And as well as that, we're going to be talking parking fines on Sky and a festival for single-parent families. So there's lots to come on the programme tonight. Join us at 7.
We'll see you then, Amy. Thank you so much. Now, it is a job of the social media age, the content creator or influencer. But the people who post videos and pictures or blog for a living say they're not being recognised for their contribution to the economy, which, according to research published by YouTube, is worth more than £2 billion in the UK. Now, they're calling for more support and respect. Here's Joanne Macaulay.
Right guys, I am back today to show you how to take your everyday makeup look into your evening makeup look in literally 5 minutes.
Maddie Hill started putting makeup videos online during lockdown from her home.
And then they just blend out so easy, that literally took me 2 seconds. And it already has elevated the whole look, which is great.
Her films and posts got attention, and now she has 1 million followers across platforms such as TikTok, Instagram and YouTube.
What are the worst things about living on a tiny Scottish island?
Because of her profile and the people she can reach, brands now pay her to promote their products. And being a content creator or influencer is her main source of income.
Social media is in everyone's lives, and everyone is looking at content creators for information instead of now maybe reading it in a magazine or watching television and seeing the adverts. People are now on their phones and on social media.
This sector now supports more than 45,000 jobs in the UK, according to YouTube's latest findings, which took in the views of almost 10,000 creators. It's a growing job sector in the UK, but influencers say there's still a lot of misunderstanding.
I think because lots of these people are one-people industries, they're micro businesses, they're probably not getting the support and the advice to scale and grow. They're probably not even getting the support and advice to scale and grow from the platforms themselves. That's the challenge. It's about kind of formalising and making the industry more acceptable, I guess.
And there's a desire for this new type of job to be valued alongside more traditional roles.
I'd like to play a game with you.
So many people have a passion for creativity and creating content and thinking up concepts and recording and editing. Like, that is what people dream of doing, just like people dream of becoming a doctor or becoming a lawyer, you know. So, and we all support that. So if someone's dream is to go into content creation, I think that should be supported as well and taken seriously.
As a result of feedback from creators, YouTube is calling on the government and industry to recognise and support this growing sector. Joanne Macaulay, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Now, do you know what this is? Well, it is a Labubu, and Rihanna and Dua Lipa are among the stars seen with them hanging off their designer handbags. They've become a social media phenomenon. So demand has soared, but so have fake versions of the dolls. And now trading standards officers in Aberdeen have issued a warning after seizing counterfeit and potentially dangerous versions of the toys from shops in the city. Well, Rebecca Curran joins me now from Aberdeen. Rebecca, can you just explain a bit more about these dolls?
Yeah, absolutely. As you've already said, Laura, their popularity is huge. People queue for hours to get their hands on these elf-like creatures that are made in China. And the more rare ones can sell for thousands of pounds. And that is the problem here. When there's such a huge demand for something, people can't get their hands on it, and then fakes start cropping up, and they don't go through the same rigorous safety testing. Now, Aberdeen Trading Standards have seized a number of counterfeit Labubus from 4 shops in the city so far. In fact, when I was in their office today, another huge bag of suspected fakes landed on the desk, and the manager has told staff to drop everything and get these things off the market. That is how concerned they are about these potentially dangerous toys.
In this particular example, the foot falls off rather quickly. It's rather easy to remove. It certainly wouldn't pass any toy safety test that we would do.
Because the concern is that could then go into a child's
Because
mouth.
this is a choking hazard. I think we're starting to pick them up all over Scotland, so there is a wider national concern about these things.
What would your advice be to parents?
If you have bought one of these dolls, that you don't give it to your kid to play with, and you remove it somewhere safe.
So this is not just a problem in Aberdeen, Rebecca?
No, it's not, Laura. We understand that hundreds of these suspected fakes have been seized by trading standards officers across Scotland in recent weeks. And the charity Advice Debt Scotland say children have been left upset by what they describe as a flood of fake Labubus across the country. Now, the advice for anyone wanting to get their hands on one of these is to always be vigilant, to use reputable retailers, and if a deal seems too good to be true, then it probably is.
OK, Rebecca joining us from Aberdeen, many thanks. Time to get tonight's sport now with Lewis. We've been glued to the tennis this afternoon, but there's football to talk about too.
Exactly. We've got to start at Ibrox because the transfer window has thrown up some more deals there. Absolutely, Laura. Thanks very much. Hello there. Well, Rangers have continued their summer rebuild by signing midfielder Joe Rothwell from Bournemouth on a 3-year contract. The 30-year-old was on loan to Leeds United last season, playing 39 times as the Yorkshire club won promotion back to the Premier League. Rangers manager Russell Martin previously coached Rothwell at Southampton and says he's a huge asset who will bring a winning mentality to Ibrox. Now, Cameron Norrie is through to the 3rd round of Wimbledon, upsetting American Frances Tiafoe as yet another top seed is knocked out of the tournament in the first week. Paul Barnes was watching.
Centre court is the mecca of tennis, but for some reason court 1 is Cameron Norrie's favourite. The perfect setting then for a battle to reach the 3rd round. A former semi-finalist in South West London, the Scot has recently slipped down the rankings, and in Frances Tiafoe he faced an opponent hovering around the world's top 10.
Game quality.
First set gone, time to regroup, and a chance to break serve when it mattered most.
He's found the line on the pass. What a way to make it 1 set all.
Time and again, Norrie peppered winners down the line, soaking up the partisan atmosphere to take control.
That's tough.
With the finish line in sight, the point that led him to the brink. Slipping and sliding towards match point.
It's just such a special court, such a special tournament, so much tradition, and you walk out and it's just a different kind of feeling, you know, and I was just trying to take it all in and enjoy it and smile as much as I could, and then I was going to have to go to battle, so yeah, it was a really, really nice experience today, and I was really happy with my level, and the enjoyment factor was really high as well.
So as another seed crashes out and the draw opens up, Norrie takes his place in the last 32. Paul Barnes, reporting Scotland.
Finally, golf, and teenage amateur Conor Graham saying he can't quite believe he'll be teeing it up with the world's best players on the sport's biggest stage at this month's Open Championship. The 18-year-old from Blair Gowrie grabbed one of the 5 spots up for grabs at yesterday's qualifying at Ayrshire's Dundonald Links. He'll be joined in Portrush by compatriot Daniel Young, with Graham beating fellow Scot Paul O'Hara in a nail-biting playoff.
Oh, this is huge, yeah. I mean, I think will probably be one of the best weeks of my life, you know, being able to go there and play in the Open will be very special.
What was it like playing against a fellow Scot, though, going down that 19th hole?
It was, you know, it's pretty tough, you know, kind of playoff, you know, only one of us can get in, so, you know, it's like, it's tough, but you know, it was pretty nerve-wracking going down there. So yeah.
And you can hear more from Connor on the news at 7 shortly, Laura.
Great stuff, Lewis. Thank you very much indeed. Well, the weather today has not been Wimbledon-like here in Scotland, has it?
Well, not everywhere. It was really dreaky there earlier on. A lot of rain over eastern Scotland. Wasn't quite as showery as I thought last night. But I was going to hold my hands up there. But elsewhere, look at the sunshine across Orkney, just up the road. Beautiful blue skies here. And for the Western Isles as well. It was a weather front that really pepped up across the east earlier on today. But that's now clear of the east coast, and we're seeing a few showers edging away. A brief ridge of high pressure tonight. The next weather front coming in tomorrow, bringing some showers. Then the next system coming our way for Friday, and that low pressure lingering to the north of us as we head through the weekend. So rain, showers and some drier interludes in the forecast. And actually any showers clearing this evening, leaving spells of evening sunshine and dry for most of us with clear skies as we head through tonight. But then that front edging into the west, bringing thicker cloud and some showers certainly by the end of the night. Quite cold across parts of the east. We could see 3 or 4 Celsius for the likes of Deeside and down towards the borders, around about 8 to 10 Celsius further west. Into tomorrow, it starts dry with some early sunshine across the eastern half of the country and the Northern Isles. All the while, our front starts to get its act together, bringing thicker cloud extending across the country, but the frontal rain breaking up into showers as it makes its way across Scotland. And those showers are arriving in Shetland later on in the afternoon after a largely dry day up until now. And then we'll see some heavy showers for Orkney too, and occasionally fresh southwesterly breeze here. Quite a few heavy showers for the spine of the country. Dries towards the east coast. In any given brightness, we could see 18 Celsius over the northeast and perhaps the borders. Some drier interludes in between those showers. Maybe the odd rumble of thunder coming in over any heavier showers. Showers continuing for the southwest, for Argyll as well. But they'll start to ease over the Western Isles as we head through the afternoon as well. And occasionally fresh to strong, I should say, breeze up the west coast coming in from the southwest. A cool feel pretty much everywhere with exposure to the Atlantic. Tomorrow evening, the showers show signs of easing. Then the first front approaches, then the next front approaches by the time we reach Friday morning, with outbreaks of rain sweeping in across the country on Friday. And as we head through the weekend, it stays showery or with rain at times and quite breezy too.
Judith, thank you. And we'll be here with your late news. Bye from all of us.